I'm working on the Garrard 30, basically detail cleaning and reassembly at this point. This is out of the Crown 107, but Garrard motors are Garrard motor. They use these in a lot of different machines. All the later Columbia portables had them and so on. Anyway, this machine has some issues I've discovered, this motor rather. We have pitting. That was, now if you remember when I did the video on the Crown 107, the bottom panel was missing, which means that the motor was exposed to dust, to moisture, possibly stuff like that, though it shouldn't have been getting wet. And the machine itself shows no sign that it was ever in the water or near water or had any kind of moisture issues. However, we have here is some very deep pitting in spots. You can see it like right here is very pitted there. And if you notice, the gear teeth have taken a beating. Now, I don't have an abundance of Garrard parts to swap things out. Otherwise, I might be tempted to change out the spring barrels. I think I do have another motor somewhere in one of the Columbia portables that had all of its pot metal crumble away. A typical problem with them. I don't remember if it's the 30 or not. It might be a single spring motor. It might not be. Don't remember, but I don't want to have to go that route. I don't want to break that motor up for this if I don't have to. So what I'm going to do is reassemble this and just try it. If it's annoyingly loud or has any other issues, then I will take the next step and perhaps swap over the spring barrels and all that. But until then, I want to try it first. Now, if this was a Victor motor, I have 50 motors I could pull parts off of, no problem. Wouldn't even think about it. But the Garrard 30, I just don't. So we are going to try it first and see. You can see both barrels have issues. There's more pitting here. This gear is less critical. This is the winding gear. It's chewy, but there's enough teeth left on there that it'll wind without an issue. So this one I'm not really concerned about. This one is spinning a little bit faster, has finer teeth, and this has the potential to create some noise. And it's an unusual way that it pitted like that. Now, obviously, this gear sticks out from the motor housing. And if it was frozen in place for a long time without being turned, this might have been the part that was sticking out exposed. It wasn't underneath the cover of the motor itself. It was sticking out on its own. If I didn't know better, I would almost think that looks like, it's very windy today, that almost looks like blood pitting. And blood pitting is something I run into with military collectibles more so than phonographs, obviously. But just the way it pitted, blood being a viscous substance, high in salt content, when it gets onto metal, blued steel maybe, or unfinished steel, it kind of stays in one place and goes to work on the metal that's directly under it, while rusting caused by exposure to high levels of moisture and such tends to rust over a much wider area, and it's a finer kind of rust. The pitting is much finer than this, usually. It's not so much on the sides either. Whoa, almost got hit by a chair. It's here, just around the gear teeth on down over here. Very strange. And there's a little bit also on the spring barrel lids. You can see it here. Again, it looks like blood pitting almost. A little more cleanup to do on those. And these are nicely made barrels. See how the edge is beveled up there, which makes it a whole lot easier. The beveled edges here on top, a whole lot easier to get the lids on, because these are the pressed on lids. So it gets it started for you a lot easier than you just squeeze it down. I use these to gently squeeze that lid down, one on either side, to do it evenly. Not everybody has two pairs of the Eiffel geared plier wrench, but I collected these plier wrenches for a long time, so I have about 30 or 40 pairs to choose from. You can find those on eBay, by the way. They're all over the place on there. Very common tool. So we're going to give it a shot first and see. Take a look at some of the other parts while I have it out. This is the arbor. Goes between the barrels. The springs in the middle connect to that. That over there. We have this brass gear here. And, oh yeah, I wanted to look at this. That wind is really brutal today. Now, this is your spindle. Turntable rides on it. One thing to note with the Garrard motor, you do have a composite gear on here. I'm gonna lose that little washer. Right here, it's kind of a sandwich of brass and some type of early plastic material in the middle. So you got to be careful with these. Dry lube them. Don't goop grease on there. Use dry powdered graphite is what I would recommend for that. It's a noise reduction type of gear. That's why they use them instead of just going to all brass. You can see it a little better there. You can see the composite material in the middle, held together with rivets. The other thing to watch out for on these shafts is that ball bearing on the bottom. It can come out. It does come out. Right now it's held in a little bit of grease, but you want to make sure you don't lose that when you take this off. That rides in the little brass cup here, in the lid right here, right there. On HMV and Victor, well, HMV would have a small ball bearing kind of loosely dropped in there, and a spindle rides on top of it. That is not how this works. This has the ball bearing is attached to the shaft. Whoa, don't fall out. Don't fall out. Didn't fall out. Is attached to the shaft. So you want to watch out for that. If you take these apart, there's a couple of small washers in there. There's a small washer that goes on top of that, or the other one. No, this one. And there's a little washer here. You want to make sure you don't lose that. There's a couple washers on here that go between the barrels. Let's push that back down in the middle where it belongs, right there. And you have another one where, what did I do with it? Oh, yeah, right here. And it was a thin one right there on the spindle. So you want to make sure you don't lose those when you take these apart. Isn't it nice? I already have the governor reassembled, all of that. It's just nice. Nice how they built these motors. I mean, everything is all nice and painted. Look at the crinkle finish, the black crinkle paint they put on there. Yeah, it makes it look very nice and very finished. Everything's all polished. Here's the bottom, or the top. Yeah, well, bottom. This is you can see it says number 30, made in England, and nicely plated and everything. I think this is actually chrome plated. It looks chrome plated, not nickel plated, but I don't know for sure. Really nicely, nice that it's held up. Now it's kind of strange, though, even with the plating, that this would rust before this. This actually sits lower than this. So you think this would get the moisture first, but it didn't. And you can see where, well, it's kind of like this, I guess. It sits sort of like that, I think, when it's in there. So you can see how much that sticks out. And that's where the rust occurred, right there on that gear. And this was lubricated too. There was grease on this. Now, I have no idea if there's been grease on it for the last 90 years or whatever, but at some point there may not have been. But the grease was old and thick and took a lot of scrubbing to get off. And it totally disguised this. I did not see the damage to the teeth or this because of all the grease that was there. I mean, it looked a little discolored there, but I just thought that was crud. Everything else on there is not rusted at all. Go figure. But that's a look at this for now. I'll get back to reassembly, and eventually it's going to go back into the cabinet.